guys, and welcome to this video. So today we'll be talking everything wrists. We'll be going through understanding active range of motion, the difference between passive and active stretching, and some stretches and strength exercises to incorporate into your practice. And at the end, I will also give you a little hack to help protect your wrist in your practice. Understanding your active range of motions, where your wrist naturally goes without an external force, means that you can perhaps see whether in your practice you're taking your wrist beyond its full capacity for a prolonged period of time, which, if you are, might explain why you're experiencing some pain or tension in the wrists. So to understand your own active range of motion, what you can do is take a seat on your mat, bend your knees, and place your forearms on your knees. You can also do this when you're sat on a chair, and just place your forearm on a table, making sure that the wrist and the hand are off the edge of the table. So I'll be doing it here on my knees. I place my forearms on my knees, palms facing down, fingertips facing forward. I reach the fingertips up towards the sky and press the palm of the hand away from me. And then I do it the other way. So I bring the fingertips down without bending at the knuckles. I keep the hand flat and I push the top of the wrist away from me as much as possible. So let's come back to the first one where we have our palms away from us. It's quite unlikely that most of us will have our wrists at an exact 90-degree angle, which when you think about it is where often we're being asked to have our wrists when we are in postures like tabletop or even plank pose. And the reason you'll often hear the cue shoulders over the wrist is because stacking up the joints provides much more stability. That being said, remember, there's absolutely no yoga police that will come tell you off if you have the shoulders just slightly behind the wrist to help you find your more natural range of motion, your more natural angle in the wrists. So here could be absolutely fine for you. The second thing that's really important to understand is that when we're weight bearing on our hands, it's actually the forearm flexors doing the work. They are contracting to enable that wrist extension, which means that in order to have a greater and healthier range of motion in the wrist, we need to work on the forearm flexors and building those muscles. There's a few exercises that can be done to help strengthen the forearms and therefore the wrist and the range of motion within the wrist. So the first one, I will find a comfortable seat on my mat, bend my knees as I did before, place my forearm on my knees and use a weight in my hand. This can be a bottle, it can be a jar, anything you like. I hold my item in my hand and I send it up towards the sky, extending my wrist upward. And then I bring it back down, flexing the wrist. I do this a couple of times, and again, this can be done at your desk or at your table or even sat on your couch by just placing the forearm on the end of the couch or at the table with the wrist and the hand just off the edge. Another exercise to get those forearm flexors working is to come to a comfortable kneeling position. Place your hands down by your side with your palms facing down and your fingertips facing behind you. Grounding the knuckles of the hands into the air. Lift the fingers off the mat. And it's possible that your fingers won't come very far off the ground, and that's absolutely fine to begin with. The more you do this, the higher they'll go, because the stronger your forearm flexors will become. The last exercise that I would like to do with you guys in regards to the forearm flexors is, so we're going to send our arms out in front of us and create a fist with our hands. We want to keep the shoulders stacked over the fist, beautiful straight line in the spine. You can also do this at your desk or on your couch. And we're going to pulsate the fingers, spreading them wide and bringing them back into a fist. And we'll do this a few times. You'll start to feel it in the wrist and in the forearm flexors quite quickly, building heat in the arms. And this is also a great exercise to work the fingers, because the fingers really play a huge part when we are weight bearing on our hands. Oh, I'm already feeling it. One more thing in regards to the fingers. Create fists with your hands, spread them, And then imagine that you have a really, really strong ball and you're trying to squeeze it completely. So creating resistance with your own muscles, with your own hands, bringing your hands into a fist. One more time, spread and squeeze, 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 squeeze. Okay, so now that we've done all of that, let's do some beautiful, lovely stretches to finish off. So I'm going to start with my right hand. I place the palm away from me and use my left hand to bring the fingers of my right hand towards my face. So this is what's called passive stretching, when we're using an external force and going perhaps beyond our active range of motion. And then I do the other one. Last little stretch of the wrists. Let's come to a tabletop position. Let's bring the fingertips facing the knees, palms down on the mat. Tuck the toes under and sit back towards the heels. You probably won't go all the way. Go as far as feels comfortable for you. And then we come forward again and swap. So we bring the palm of the hand facing up. Sit back towards the heels. Oh, this feels really good. And then release and shake it out. Woo! One little note on the knuckles. When we are weight bearing on the hands, we really want to ground those knuckles of the hands into the earth. If we send them up towards the sky and create a sort of cup shape with our hand, this puts a lot more pressure on the wrists. If we spread the fingers wide and ground the knuckles down into our mat, this helps relieve pressure off the wrists as we spread the weight more evenly throughout the hand. And finally, a little hack that you can use in your practice. So this is mainly something that you can incorporate if you're working with hand or arm balances. It's not ideal to use within your practice, within a flow. But if you are working with hand or arm balances and you're finding that you're putting a lot of pressure on the wrist and at the end you're feeling tired, I invite you to fold up your mat once or twice. Place the wrist and half of the palm of the hand onto the mat and the other half of the palm of the hand, the knuckles and the fingertips, just off the mat. This sends the energy downwards towards the knuckles and the fingers so that it's them taking most of the weight rather than the wrists in your balances. That's it from me today. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful for your wrists and your practice. If you have any questions, please feel free to send them to me. And I look forward to practicing with you again soon. Bye!